Alright guys, I'm finished for the day. As you can already tell, I didn't get the chance to record any of my trades today, which really sucks because I think today is probably the biggest winning day I've ever had. I'm up 182, I was 3 for 4 on trades today, basically one just scratch on PSX there. I don't know what happened with OBS, but for some reason my button just wasn't working, and it just didn't take any of the trades. Really sucks because it would have been good to go back and review what went right and what could have been better. But first, before I go over any of the trades, I want to go over my notebook. You can see on the picture there, starting with the top, I always put the date on. So yesterday I watched a seminar on the Open from SMB Capital, and it was actually really good. It was talking about mainly the points that I took down from it is the price discovery is when you first discover what the price action for the rest of the day is going to be like. There's a lack of clear trends. Tape reading is very important. VWAP failure indicates reversal, and that's something that's actually a pretty good indicator that I liked a lot. But for some reason, Lightspeed on some stocks it doesn't load VWAP until maybe an hour into the day or so. So if I'm lucky, some of the stocks that I'm playing with right at the open will have the VWAP loaded and ready to go. Liquidity at support and resistance. That's something that I have to look into a little bit more because I wasn't exactly sure what that means for day traders necessarily. 20 to 30% of the average daily volume on the pre-market shows significant levels that should be taken into account during if you're going to trade the open. It creates well-defined support and resistance points. Failures to watch for is the VWAP in the last day support and resistance. So if I'm looking at a stock or something and I need to pay attention to the yesterday's support and resistance, which is kind of interesting because I don't trade gaps, I do trade gaps, I don't not trade gaps. So last day support and resistance usually doesn't have really any place into where I'm placing any of my trades. If it does, then it's probably not that big of a gap and I don't really need to be looking at it. But another thing they were looking at is using the 30-minute chart to look across the past week or so. Then besides the open, I usually just write a bunch of notes, and the notes today were for my gap trade. It tells me that selling interest is over and that buyers are starting to come in. So that's one of those trades where, say it's a gap up on the day, and then right at the open it pulls back a little bit, and then it busts over the top. That shows me that the buyers are coming in at the selling interest, the profit taking and all that is over after that candle. I need to take what is given to me, and I definitely did today. I definitely took a lot of trades that were really good setups, but I had a lot to look at today compared to past days. No emotions, just take the setup. Don't sweat the entry number. I definitely kept it in mind, but I mean it wasn't, I had to get this specific price or else I wasn't going to get in. Watch for big volume. I experimented with something today. Instead of on the time and sales sorting by the time, I sorted by the size. So the big size would be at the top. So anytime that I saw big size coming in, it would be right there at the top, and I was able to easily see that it was coming in green or red. Definitely a good indicator. I'll be doing that again. On breakouts, you want to see at least 2 times the buyers if you're on the buy side, or sellers or if you're on the sell side on the bid and ask. And then you also want to see size orders of about 300 plus coming in. You don't just want to see hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. You want to see like 200s, 300s, 400s, thousands, stuff like that. So then at the bottom you can see I've got the up and down. Those are the gappers that I'm keeping watch for the day right at the open. And then on the bottom left I have the gap and I got the gap and go. This is a target, and the way that I write my trades is I write the ticker symbol, then it's my confidence in the trade, then it's the time of day, and then it's the current SPY position. So you see target was a gap and go, WBA was a low of day breakout, PSX was a top reversal, and then because I didn't have space over on the right, I had HSY was a bottom reversal. And then you can see my rev column. I had a ton of reversals that were popping up on my scanner today. So I sorted through, looks like about 20 of them there. And then I got my to-do list back up at the top right. Also this SPY 11 million at the very top, that is at 9:10. I have decided to start recording how many shares have been traded in the SPY just to see where the main volume is at. So today we were at 11 million, which is actually 1 million more than the past couple of days. I think yesterday was about 10 million, and even the 2 days before that they were right at 10 million 40 minutes into the day. So today we were up a little bit on volume, which is nice to see. Then I got my to-do list. I got a research reading order flow, liquidity at supply areas in general. Scaling in and tape reading are going to be my big focuses for this weekend in studying and whatnot. So that's what I do every single day right at the morning, is I just write in my notebook here a bunch of stuff that I'm trying to pay attention to. So now for my trades. First trade that I took was Target. I was looking at it right at the open here. Let's make sure I'm still recording. Okay, good, I am. Alright, so yeah, Target was dropping down. Started over at 9 here. The big news for today was Amazon buying the Whole Foods market, and it just made Kroger's crash even more. It made even more retailers crash, because I guess Amazon is really just taken over the grocery industry now, and it's making every other stock go down, and Amazon's been flying up. So that's pretty big news. So I was looking to take Target here with a stop loss over the 50, just a nice 100 shares, shorten it under the pre-market lows there. It was kind of showing resistance at the whole number there at 51, so that's definitely a good number to pay attention to. Same with the 50 there, because the 50 is a big psychological number, just because it's 50, and then another one's 100, and then there's 10. I guess you could consider 25 one, because everything just cuts nicely into either halves or quarters, and it does make a difference. So I took a short right at the open. Ended up popping down a ton, getting all the way down to 49 almost. I took 50 shares off at 50.42 because it was kind of showing like letting up a little bit. But I really wish I could go back and look at the video. I remember looking at it. It kind of stuttered for a second. I wouldn't say that it was enough for me to really take off the 50 shares, but it was enough for me to start saying, I'll just take what I can get, because this whole week has been take what I can get, just what the market gives me, and stop trying to stretch things so much just to take a profit. But today was one of those days where I should have stretched things just to really be a lot more aggressive into these trades, because it really would have worked out well today. So I took Target, 50 shares. I had an accident, obviously. Something always happens every day. I ended up taking 50 shares, but I took another 25 around here, so I was still short 25 shares. And I wanted to set a stop loss for that last 25 somewhere around here. And I ended up leaving my share size 100, so I covered that 25, but then I ended up being long 75 shares. And I immediately got out, ended up losing on the spread about 14 cents there. So I mean, it was a $94 winner, but it could have been plus 100. I think I did the math and everything, and it could have been 105, so I just lost out on 10 bucks on it. But overall, it's a pretty good trade. Only thing I would have changed is just really making sure that I'm ready to exit the trade. That's something I need to write down. Okay, so the next trade was WBA. I was looking at it, somebody posted it in the chat room here. I was looking at it around here. You can see on the 5s it had a big move down, and it was struggling around this 50 area, so it made that nice trend line. You can see it's kind of cool. Even after the fact that it happened, it still kind of kept up with that trend line, and then really broke out just not too long ago. I was looking at it right about here. Try to draw a nice trend line that was following it fairly well. Ended up finally busting down. I took, what, 150 shares on it. 150 short at the 78.55. So it's right about here. Kept popping around. Couldn't really break it. Finally we got the good break. Ended up breaking down. I covered half right in this little consolidation area here. And then looks like at 43 I covered even more. I covered into strength. Pretty good deal with this trade. I guess it was another one of those things where it hasn't really confirmed that the breakout is over or anything. You can see on the volume the volume was kinda dipping out, so that is a pretty good indicator. But obviously once it broke, it had a much better ride down. But it was another one of those instances where I was just taking what the market was giving me. Didn't want to risk anything, wanted to stay green, wanted to try and be green for the week, really, because this week hasn't been the best of the weeks. But ended up being a $48 trade. Good stuff. First reversal trade that I took today was PSX, as Phillips 66, an oil company. I was popping up a lot, lots of strength, good amount of volume. You can see that it had a really big turnaround pretty quickly here. I was looking at it on the 1 minute charts here, and it bounced off of that 80, and I figured that was a pretty good spot because there's definitely not a ton of volume buyers coming back in after that huge sell-off that we just had. So now that I'm looking at it, I'm kind of thinking that, you know, it's a good setup, but that doesn't mean that there's a lot of buyers in that are getting trapped by this. So I mean, this is only maybe 10,000 shares that have gone long after that big sell-off. So after this sell-off here, I know that there's about 10,000 shares trying to cover if they get below this 80. I mean, you can see that as soon as it did, there's about close to 10,000 that were trying to get out, but didn't move enough for me. Ended up covering after it rebroke the 80 going to the up. Ended up being a $5 loser, not a big deal. I actually took not full size on this one too. I did my math wrong. I should have taken 300 shares instead of just 150, so I guess you can say I'm saving a little bit of money, but it worked out alright. Next trade, last trade that I took was Hershey's. Took it for a bottom reversal. You can see on the daily it had this huge run up here. All of a sudden failed to move higher again, and then it just had a big drop off here. Couldn't really figure out what was going on. I think it has something to do with Nestle, because Hershey's been talking about buying Nestle and whatnot. So let's look at the 15 minutes. Had a nice doji down there at the bottom. Wanted to take it over the top of it. So I was looking at the 1 minute chart. I believe it was right around here. It had that pop up here. Kind of set back a little bit again, and I wanted to take it long over the whole number. So I got in 200 shares at 06. Ended up making a nice move up. Sold half into strength. Right about here it had that slight pullback there, but then it busted up again. And then I saw that it was I was holding it through the 50 here, and I just couldn't really get above that 50. So I decided to just take what I got. Ended up getting out another 100 at the 111.40. Another $48 trade on this one. Pretty good. So finishing the day up 182. And so for my weekly recap here, starting here, it was this whole set. You can see ended up being plus 131 on the week. I think my big deal with this week was taking too many full stop losses. I took 3 full $50, well, I guess in this case 40 or 45, but still all the way through. I mean, it happens sometimes, and obviously my winners weren't really too big at all until today, with only one of them getting a 1R. So these are all the notes that I was taking. So about pulling the trigger, entering in, because that was my deal earlier in the week, was letting emotions get the best of me, and not taking the setups that were given to me, trying to pinpoint too much what the perfect entry is going to be and everything, and I ended up missing out on a bunch of trades. I noticed I needed to take profits because this week or this month is a lot slower, so I was really trying to take what I can get. Definitely did that today. Yesterday, one of my strengths and weaknesses, I listened to a pretty big psychology audiobook with Chat with Traders, and one of the big things he was talking about is identifying your strengths and weaknesses, so that you know that you can act more on your strengths and realize what your weaknesses are, and just recognizing that you have a habit of doing whatever it may be, and being ready to deal with that when the time comes. So then I got the weekly here for the 16. Ended up finishing the week $105. Spent 45 in commissions, so overall I was just plus 60 on the week. But I'm definitely starting to get back in the groove here, especially today, with everything that I was doing, taking the notes, that seminar helped a lot, especially doing the research that I've been doing. It just matters. You can do any research you want to, but it matters that you're looking at the right things, not just anything. So with the tape reading and the habits and the strengths and weaknesses and all those kinds of things, it's definitely helped me out today. As you can see, I was 7 for 13, 53% win rate, plus 105. So if I'm doing the math here, if I did my full losses on the 6, that means I got, what is that, 350 in winners and 300 in losers. So I'm plus an extra trade for the winners, which is definitely a good deal. Definitely Target today really made that possible, I guess, because it was basically like winning 2 trades, just slightly above the 1R, and this ended up being a 2R, so really good. Just trying to figure out where I want to really start taking profits, recognizing when a pattern is over or my trade is over and going against me, recognizing when, even if the trade doesn't go in my way at all, when I should get out earlier instead of taking the full loss. So overall, pretty decent week. Really happy with today. Starting to get back into things. Next week should be a lot better here. Come back with new information ready to go. So thanks for watching, and I'll be back next week.